Alright, let's try this one right here. We're going to go ahead and read through the problem. Hector is running in the 800-meter race at a local track meet. At one point he is running with a velocity of 6 meters per second when he starts to accelerate at a rate of 0.2 meters per second every second. If Hector accelerates for 12 seconds, what will his final velocity be? So, we'll start again by just writing out the knowns, what the problem tells us here. We do know that the total distance of the race is 800 meters. We know a velocity of 6 meters per second. We know an acceleration of 0.2 meters per second every second. We know a time of 12 seconds. So our unknown here is our final velocity. So we have final velocity, and since we're accelerating, that means this velocity here must have been our initial velocity. Acceleration, you're always going to have a change in velocity take place. So let's look at the equation. Again, just acceleration. So acceleration is the final velocity minus the initial velocity divided by the time. Let's go ahead and plug everything in here. I'm going to solve it. So our acceleration was 0.2 meters per second equals our final velocity, still don't know that, that's what we're solving for, minus 6 meters per second, sorry, that was a velocity, divided by the time, which was 12 seconds. So in this problem here, since we have a subtraction in the middle of all this, I like to kind of treat this as a separate little piece right here. And so again, we'll still go through what I think is probably the simplest way to solve these is just treat this whole thing over 1 on this side, and we'll cross multiply like so, and we'll end up with what's in the parentheses over here, final velocity minus 6 meters per second. All that was times 1, so nothing changes there. And then we're going to cross all this here, so we have 0.2 meters per second. I'm just putting those in parentheses to keep them separate from the 12 seconds here. We're multiplying those together, 12 seconds. The seconds here will cancel out with that seconds right there. So I'm going to rewrite some stuff over here now. So our final velocity minus 6 meters per second equals, and 0.2 times 12 is 2.4 meters per second. So now to get the final velocity, we simply add 6 meters per second. Always do the opposite, so those will go away to 0. And then I do the same thing over here, add 6 meters per second. Now if you'd done this and you didn't have meters per second plus meters per second, then you know you did something wrong, because you can't add quantities that have different measurements. So I have so we're all good here. I have my final velocity is 8.4 meters per second. So Hector accelerated during the race from 6 meters per second to 8.4 meters per second during that 12-second interval.